Episode 168 of Australia's #1 marketing show. Today's guest runs the world's most successful online teaching business. Plus, I share my top 5 marketing lessons from Italy. Plus, I share some big news about this very show. It's good to be back.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Buongiorno, everyone. I think I'll stick with g'day. G'day, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I am your host, Timbo Reid, fresh back from Italy. But you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some great marketing in this brand new year that is 2014. And we are still, thank the Lord, brought to you by the very good folk at Net Registry, who have just signed on for another contract period, which I'm very, very happy about, because this show happens because Net Registry love you guys and they love this show. Now, speaking of shows, we've got a really big show. I know, I promised you a sort of reflective episode that I'd record from, like the Colosseum or Pompeii. Didn't happen, guys. Yeah, didn't happen. Why didn't it happen? Because I got into holiday mode real quick and thoughts of recording just kind of went by the by, and I was just hanging out with the family for 4 weeks. So that said, I will do a reflective episode sometime in the very near future, because I don't know, maybe it'll be just cathartic for me, but it's also nice to reflect. And I'm actually also noticing that in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, there's lots of reflection going on. I think it's a really healthy thing to do. What worked, what didn't work, what we could be doing better. So we'll still do that, but this ain't the episode in which that is going to happen. I also want to welcome everyone from the Flying Solo community. Now, guys, listen to what we have got in the show today. I have got a question about water slides. I know. I have also got my top 5 marketing tips that I've brought back from Italy. I'm going to share them with you very shortly. I have got some feedback from a ceramic artist in Australia and a marketing director of a scenic railway company in Washington. Some diverse feedback. Some news on the whole entire Small Business Big Marketing show going forward. Some very exciting news. And a fantastic guest in Mike Johnson, who is one of the world's... No, he's not one of the world's. He's the world's leading drum teacher, and he has got an amazing online and offline business in which he does that. He's going to share how he goes all about that. And he's just a good guy. So really looking forward to that. Enough. Let's get stuck right in. So I had a fantastic time in Italy with the family. We went from Rome to Venice to Florence to Bologna to Verona to Pompeii to Napoli. Oh, we went everywhere, and it was just a great thing to do. Really nice to just switch off and hang out with the fam. I did probably like half an hour to an hour's work a day, running the forum. I know, checking in on emails. Oh, I'm embarrassed to say that, but that just kind of didn't bother me. I love what I do, so getting in there and just keeping the fire burning was great, and really nice reassurance personally to know that part of my business can be run from anywhere. Well, in fact, almost all of my business could be run from anywhere, except with the speaking. If I speak around Australia, I'd hate to be sort of living in Italy and having to fly to Australia every second week, because I tell you what, that is one long flight. What was it? It was like 13 hours to Dubai from Melbourne, and then 6.5 on to Italy, onto Rome. So, yeah, not for the faint-hearted, but it was fun. Now, I have brought back 5 marketing learnings or marketing lessons that I picked up on my way around the country that is Italy. Now, let me tell you, Italy aren't at the lead of marketing. You know, it wasn't as if I was in the States or, you know, some crazy place that's just punching out all these wacky new marketing ideas. I will be in America later this year, so I hope to maybe report back on some crazier stuff. But I have got 5 learnings that sort of reminded me of the importance of various aspects of marketing that maybe sometimes we've forgotten. And what I've done with each of these learnings is posed a question at the end. So, number 1, location, location, location. Now, that sounds like a real estate tip, but what I noticed is that at all the big tourist locations or venues around Italy, for example, the Trevi Fountain, there are big brands, right? All of a sudden you look around and there's, there's Chanel and Diesel. And I didn't realise Diesel was such a big brand until I went to Italy. But, very big brands hang out at very big places. And there's something in that. And I think the question that it raises for the small business marketer in us is, where can we place our brands for maximum exposure? Now, getting a retail site alongside the Trevi Fountain, actually it wasn't the Trevi Fountain that Chanel was at, it was at the Spanish Steps in Rome, but same, busy tourist place. But obviously, the more we can get our brands in high traffic areas and exposed to more people, the better. So, number 1 lesson. Number 2 lesson, not everyone does it the same. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm a big coffee drinker, as you know, and I was very, very surprised to find that the way people consume coffee in Italy is that you walk in, you order your espresso, you don't order a cappuccino or anything full of milk. They just sort of screw their nose up at you. You order your espresso or your cafe macchiato. I mean, this was me walking into they call them bars in Italy. So I'd walk in, don't know any Italian. I'd look at the guy, I'd do some weird hand gesturing, and I'd go, "Uno cafe macchiato." And my kids would often say, "Dad, why did you order an Italian coffee in an Asian accent?" And I was like, "Guys, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I just need coffee." However, not everyone does it the same. So in Italy, you get your coffee, you knock it back, and you're out. You're out within literally like 3 minutes. I don't know about you, where you are in the world, but where we are in Melbourne, Australia, you get a coffee and you sit over that puppy for a good 5 minutes. I'm going to say 5 minutes, for a good hour. It's so people do things differently, and drinking coffee is one of those things. So, question for you: what conventions of your industry could you challenge? The convention of sitting down and over a coffee for an hour is very, very much cemented in my part of the world. Maybe it could be challenged. So what conventions in your industry could you challenge? Number 3, marketing learning from my time in Italy. Change, what have I written here? Charge for things we'd never even consider charging for. For example, speaking of coffee, I think it was like €1 for a cafe macchiato. If I wanted to sit down at the same place and have that cafe macchiato, it was going to be €2. It was often double the price. So they're charging to sit down, which again, amazing. There's not that many cafes or bars around Italy where you could actually do that. They just wanted you to stand up, knock your coffee back and get out of the way. So my question for you is, what are you giving away for free that you could or should be charging for? So all of a sudden, cafes all around Australia give away sitting down for free. Could they charge for it? Not sure. Probably not. They'd be laughed at. But there's probably things in your business that you could be charging for that you're currently giving away for free. Number 4 marketing lesson from my time in Italy: window and street presentation. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. We know the Italians have beautiful design. They have a wonderful eye for creativity. I was there at Christmas time. The streets were so well decked out with all these amazing street decorations, but it was the shop windows that were blowing me away. Now, I don't know whether it's because I come from a little seaside town in Victoria that, we just don't, we don't get out enough, and I'm sure there's some beautiful windows up in Melbourne and around Sydney, but look, the shop windows all around Italy, Rome, Florence, Venice, Verona, everywhere I went, they were just mind-blowing. Not overly, complicated, beautifully simple, beautifully designed. So my question for you could be, or is, what could you be presenting better in your business? Not just your shop window, but what greater detail could you be attention to detail could you be paying in your business and where? So number 5 lesson from my time in Italy, customer service. Now, this isn't Italy specific, actually. I flew Emirates part of the way to Italy. We flew Emirates part of the way to Italy, and they're mind-blowing. They are mind-blowing. They do the 1%ers really, really well. Overall, just a beautiful experience flying Emirates. I mean, it's a class above. And yeah, I know they've got a bottomless pit of money, so that helps. But they also just do these little 1%ers that are going to keep me coming back. Now, because of the travel I do, I must have kicked up a level whilst en route. So I was very lovingly greeted by the head stewardess when I boarded the plane. We got express custom forms to get in and out of customs real quick. We were given socks and eye mask packages, and we weren't in business. We were just in the back in cattle class, and an offer of a second meal. In fact, that second meal did come from the first class section. So these little 1%ers wouldn't have cost Emirates anything, but they got me talking about it. They made me feel very special, made my family feel very special, and I really like the way they do that. So my question to you is, what little 1%ers could you add in your business to get people talking? We've got a great discussion going on about this in the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, about generating 1%er ideas for each of our businesses. And these are little ideas that don't cost us, the business owner, much or if anything at all, but have a high perceived value to your customer. So they're my 5 learnings from my time in Italy, team. I hope they helped you, each one raising a question that if you answer in your business may improve your marketing. The other thing I did do was produce, I think I've done about 6 or 7 videos whilst I was away. I did one at the Colosseum, or 2 at the Colosseum actually, one at the Parthenon, one at Pompeii, one at the Trevi Fountain. Just little videos that I did along the way. Dubai Airport, I did one, and I'm going to be posting them on YouTube and putting them out. I'll email them to all listeners, actually. So if you sign up at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, you will get them in the email over the course of time. I've got to tell you this other customer service story, by the way. It's kind of like it's the negative customer service story from Italy, but it was my fault. But it was interesting how the shop attendant reacted. So I'm in Benetton, right? Our Benetton store, beautiful store, just near the Ponte Vecchio. And I'm in there and I'm looking at clothes, and then I see this big tower of shoe boxes. There's like 12, 15 shoe boxes standing one on top of the other. Big sign above, please ask staff for shoebox assistance, right? So, yeah, and in plain English, very understandable, please ask staff. But, of course, I go to grab the shoebox in the middle. It's like grabbing the donut in the middle of the big pile, and everything comes tumbling down. Well, I grab the shoebox in the middle, and all the other shoeboxes do come tumbling down. Silly Timbo. Then the Benetton shop assistant comes up to me and gets really cross. And I'm here holding the one shoebox and holding all the others in place. Got one leg forward, one leg back, just trying to keep everything from completely coming crashing down. And she's telling me off in Italian. Hey? And I'm just going, in English, I'm going, yeah, I know I've done wrong, but at the moment, can we just fix the problem? And then I'll completely apologise. I'll go out onto the Ponte Vecchio and scream my apologies if need be. But right now, just give us a hand because I feel a little bit silly. So yeah, she did make me feel a little bit silly. I did muck up though, so it was kind of a bit funny. And she's probably thinking, dumb Aussie. I kept thinking I was American. Hate that. I wanted to be known as the Aussie, the Australian. But yeah, often amazing. That's a whole separate conversation. Amazing how we kind of group certain people into sort of little categories. We pigeonhole things, don't we? Separate conversation. Leave that alone, Timbo. That is a deep hole you're about to dig. Okay. They are my marketing lessons from Italy. I hope they are of help. Stay tuned. Look out on the Small Business Big Marketing website for my videos, because I did do, as I said, 6 or 7 video blogs, and I will be sharing them over the course of time as I put them together. All right, enough of Italy. Let's get on with the show. Well, when I said let's get on with the show, I meant like let's move on to the next section because, I could talk about Italy forever. Such a good holiday. But I have got some listener feedback and a great question from May Lee Anderson. And May Lee says, Timbo, big thanks to you and your guests for sharing an abundance of marketing gold. I started listening to your podcast on June the 26th, 2013, just to be specific. June 26th. Sure it wasn't June 27, May Lee? I don't know. Which was my first official day on the job as the new marketing director for Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad in Washington, D.C. Gee, that sounds kind of nice. We're a non-profit organisation that's volunteer-based. 85 to 90% of our crew is made up of the most dedicated, hard-working volunteers. Very cool story. May share it with you another time. We're located in rural Washington State. When they hired me, they made it very clear that being a hidden gem was no longer an option. Brand awareness was to be a big part of my focus. Now, team, have a listen to the kind of ideas and marketing actions that May Lee has gone and implemented. Love this. In the last 5 months, not 5 years, 5 months, she says, I've executed many of your tips and have had positive results. Oh, I love that. I love hearing stuff like that, May Lee. After listening to your podcasts faithfully, I've been taking action. Now, team, if you ever hear me talk about what is the difference between success and no success, so often it is the taking of swift action and not waiting for everything to be perfect. And that's what May Lee has done. Back to May Lee. She says the website for Scenic Railroad is mrsr.com, but please don't judge. I'm not going to judge. Get it up there. That's the idea. Get it up there and tweak it as you go. It was designed 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm having it redesigned. Okay, so it's been up there a while, but you're having it redesigned. Great. Like I remember interviewing the fellow from Vintage Bath a few episodes ago, quite a number of episodes ago now. That guy was turning over $25 million a year selling bathtubs, and he hadn't updated his website for 7 years. For our online and offline collateral development, I hired 2 copywriters, one who specialises in short form and the other who specialises in writing long form articles. That is very smart, May Lee. So often there are 2 very, very different skills. So having 2 copywriters on your virtual marketing team is a good idea. I launched 6 social media platforms. We're seeing terrific growth and have revenue to point to as a direct result of my efforts. In addition, we're going to launch our blog and e-newsletter next month thanks to the help of my virtual team. She's got a virtual team. She's not surrounding herself with people locally necessarily. She's just finding the best people for the marketing job, and I love that. She goes on to say, I also hired someone to help us with our online SEO and pay per click. So far, 4 small businesses have new clients. Good on you, May Lee. There's so much I want to share with you, Timbo. One of our special events, which serves a major fundraiser for us, is now 17% ahead of the revenue goal, and we have 2 more weekends left in the season. It's going to be a big bang to the end of a very, very busy year. May Lee, I love the fact that you have found my show, listened, written down some ideas that are worth actioning, and most importantly, actioned them. Oh, it's so important. Good on you. May Lee finishes with a question. I've never met you, but I feel like you're part of my virtual team. Well, I am, May Lee, and I love I love trains. I've got my Hornby railway set, model railway set up in my wardrobe behind me. Big thanks. Oh, and my listener question is this. Is the online forum for Aussies only, or can a motivated sales and marketing director in Washington State join too? Well, you know the answer to that. That Small Business Big Marketing Forum is open to anyone. It is global. We have people from all around the world. We've got people in the UK, Ireland, America, New Zealand, Australia, just to name a few. So, there's motivated small business owners from all around the world, May Lee. So see you in there very, very soon. And thank you so much for sharing what you have actioned. I love it. Toot, toot. Toot, toot. Timbo, what were you thinking? That was a very weird way to end that segment. Anyway, we'll leave it there. We've got to have a bit of a laugh on the Small Business Big Marketing Show. It can't be all marketing gold dripping from the ceiling, can it?
They want to get my gold on the ceiling.
Now, a particular listener question I have here before we get stuck into today's guest, and this comes from Emma Peterson. And I like this question because it raises another question, and I'll explain what I mean. Emma says, "Hi there. There is a question. This is a question for Timbo. I'm doing some research on the Queensland theme parks and just listened to your episode 41. Emma, come on, you've got to get up. We're up to episode, this is 168. She's going through the back catalogue. And it was an episode about marketing tips based on an experience I had at all the theme parks up in Queensland back in 2010. Great podcast, by the way. And as a marketing professional, I'm hooked on your website now. Thanks, Em. So back to my question. Tim, you mentioned that Wet n Wild was your favourite. Oh, yeah. You visited it with your kids 3 times. I actually think I might have visited it more than that. I dragged my kids along by the end. That's huge. Why is Wet n Wild your favourite? Is it because you're a bit of a nerd and love the engineering of the water slides? Is it because you are a water baby at heart? I am not a water baby. Well, I love the water, but I mean, if you could see me, I'm not a water baby by any stretch of the imagination. I am trying to come up with some ideas for promoting the least popular of the worlds, which is Wet n Wild. And so I'm trying to understand what makes customers like you that prefer Wet n Wild over the other worlds. What makes you tick? God, if I knew that, I could bottle it. I don't know. I can't figure that one out, but I'll try. What's the key message that Wet n Wild can use to differentiate itself from its bigger and bolder roller coaster rivals? If you have time, and I'm sure you're pretty busy, I would love to get your feedback, no matter how brief. Cheers, Emma. Hey, thanks, Emma, for the question. Now, I will answer it at the end of my little prattle on, but I love the fact that you're asking questions of customers, and I don't know whether small business owners do this enough. So some little points I want to raise here for the motivated small business owner listening. That is you. Number 1, ask and answer lots of questions about your customers. Okay? Ask your customers, what do they love about doing business with you? What do they hate about doing business with you? What would they do if it was their business? Understand them intimately. I've spoken about this before and I'll speak about it again, but in an episode recently, we talked about marketing strategy, which is something that kind of freaks a lot of small businesses out. So let's not go down the strategy line, but let's acknowledge at least that when defining marketing strategy or developing marketing strategy, you've got to get clear on who you're selling to. And when you do that, you need to understand them emotionally. Don't assume what your customers are thinking or believing or feeling. Ask them. And that's what Emma's doing in asking me about Wet n Wild. If there was one question that you should ask your customer, it is this. What is the biggest problem they have right now that your business can solve? Because business owner, if you know that, you are going to be able to create the most magical communications, the most magical website copy, presentation, sales copy, phone answering scripts, everything. You're going to be able to completely address their problem because you're acknowledging it and they feel as though they understand you. So, I love the fact that Emma's asking questions. I think we should all ask more questions about our customers. As you know, in my brand work, I call our customers our best mates, those people that have the highest propensity to want to buy from us. So, Emma, I will answer your question about Wet n Wild. I love water slides, number 1, and actually they remind me of my childhood. When I was young, kind of 10 to sort of 15, we used to go away on a holiday up to Queensland. There was a place called Grundy's, and Grundy's had these 4 big water slides off the back of a shopping centre in Cavill Avenue. And I had a ball, and water slides take me back to what was a very, very important, wonderful, happy time of my life. So I guess that's why I love water slides so much. I love Wet n Wild because I think it's a stronger brand than its competitor in, I think it's White Water World, which is sort of like an add-on to, what is that world that it's an add-on to? I can't think at the moment. But that said, I enjoyed both. but I felt Wet n Wild has the stronger brand, and as a result, I felt they were going to have the better slides. Not sure that was entirely true, although I think there was one slide there that had me going back again and again, the one where you drop down vertically and do a 360, and it was all pretty crazy stuff. So, and I don't think I haven't shared this on the show, but when Sophie and I got married all those years ago, and we were kind of tossing around what we should do for the honeymoon, I actually suggested going on a roller coaster and water slide tour of America for our honeymoon. You know, I think that almost ended the marriage before it started. Fortunately, we fixed it. I didn't get my water slide on my honeymoon. I got it shortly thereafter. We went on a holiday to Bali after our honeymoon, which was in Malaysia. Yeah, I mean, I love water slides that much that I would have done it for our honeymoon. Anyway, enough of that. Ask lots of questions of your customers. Get to know them intimately. And Emma Peterson, thank you for your question about my love of water slides. Okay, guys, before we get into today's guest, I did say that there was some big news about the Small Business Big Marketing Show, and it is the fact that I'm going to produce more episodes in this coming 12 months and just going forward generally. As you know, I put out a show every Tuesday of every week, of every month, of every year, and I will continue to do that. But I want to start putting out a second show each week, probably on a Friday, and right now I'm just putting it out there. I'm ready to go, but I am starting to put the feelers out for an appropriate sponsor for that show. Now, it won't be for everyone. Net Registry have had some wonderful success with their involvement in the Small Business Big Marketing Show. And as I said at the start, they've signed on for another contract period, at least 6 months. But so they own the Tuesday show. I want to do a show every Friday. So if you know someone that thinks would be interested, has a decent sized business that wants to get in front of a motivated small business audience, then feel free to send me an email to tim@smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and we can talk about what the opportunity is. But that is coming up hopefully sooner rather than later in the coming weeks or 2 or 3 months. I think actually a lot less. I just need to get the sponsor on board and then we're away. Pretty excited about that. There's far too many wonderful small business marketing stories out there for me to be only doing one show a week. That's the bottom line. And I get a lot of emails from people saying, I've listened to all your shows, keep them coming, can you do more? So I'm going to meet that challenge, get it out there. So I'm putting it out there. If you do know someone who you think may like to sponsor a show like this, feel free to send them my way. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's get on to today's guest. The idea for today's guest came from Small Business Big Marketing Forum member Danny Thompson. Danny, I've mentioned Danny on the show before. He owns the Music Factory. I think last time I suggested it was in Las Vegas. It's actually not. It's in Orange County, California. And Danny is a great contributor to the forum. He says, hey, Timbo, a good friend of mine, Mike Johnson, is a professional drummer who has built the most successful online teaching business in the world. He was nominated for Drummer of the Year in Modern Drummer magazine, has tons of product endorsement deals, signature products, etc. He is killing it financially, started as a basic drum teacher and started putting videos on YouTube and blew it up. He is responsible for that entire category on YouTube. He runs live camps at his facility as well. He's a very inspirational guy and a smart business person. And Danny says, get him on. And I did. I checked Mike out and boy, oh boy, what an amazing business this guy Mike is running. Got in contact with Mike and had a bit of a chat. We did this interview about a month ago. Don't know, some interviews I do, I just get the person at the other end, and I had a really strong connection with Mike on this interview. Hard to put my finger on it. When we started talking before the interview, we were on Skype video to start with, and I think that kind of helped. Mike was in his studio. We could eyeball each other, and we kind of just had a bit of a hit and a giggle before launching into the interview, before hitting record. It is only an audio interview. We turned the video off as we got started. But there's just a really nice, deep connection, and I hope you pick it up during our fireside chat. Mike sent me his bio. I just want to pull out a couple of additional things that Danny didn't mention in his intro. Mike started drumming at the age of 5. At the age of 21, he received his first major record deal and spent the next 5 years touring the world. He's appeared on The Late Show with Dave Letterman, as well as on MTV's Fashionably Loud. And in 2012, Mike'sLessons.com, which is his website and business, was awarded Website of the Year by Drum Magazine. And in 2013, Mike won the award for Clinician and Educator of the Year. Mike's got a great story to tell. He's living his passion. He is running an incredibly successful online and offline business. He takes us inside that business, how he markets it, how he brought it to life, how he chose to follow his passion, and talks about the financial freedom that it's actually given him. Enough from me. I start off by asking Mike who the most famous person or most famous drummer he's ever met is. Mike Johnson, aka Jono of Mike's Lessons. Welcome to Small Business Big Marketing.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Mate, absolute pleasure to have you along. As I said before we started, we're not going to veer into music because I'm tone deaf, so this is a pure marketing discussion.
I like it.
Hey, listen, before we get stuck into the marketing, Jono, I want to play that game, which I call Drop That Name. Now, who's the most famous person you've ever drummed for?
Oh, goodness gracious. Probably, I think, nobody Smitherson. I would say I'm the teacher. You know, I mean, I was in a bunch of bands in the 90s, and I was actually in one band that had a record deal, and we were opening for everybody in the world, you know, and I got a glimpse into that world, you know, and I called those bands Rage Against the Corn Tones. They were just a mixture of all the bands that screamed and rapped. But you know, we played the last Woodstock that Limp Bizkit was kind enough to burn down. Yeah. And so I was kind of in that mix, and we were always playing with Korn, Limp Bizkit, Rage Against the Machine, Foo Fighters. And I got to see that scope of things, and it really wasn't for me. And then I did play with a band called Filter. I played percussion for them and got the opportunity to play like on the Dave Letterman show, and just seeing more of that world. And but I would say lately the most cool thing that happened is a really famous American comedian named Bill Burr contacted me and asked me to give him a private drum lesson. And I'm a huge stand-up comedian fan of stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool to actually teach somebody that was famous outside of the world of music and to give him a private drum lesson. So
when you got the phone call from Bill Burr, who I don't know who he is, but I'll take it from you that he's really funny, did you go, it is not?
Yeah, no, it was all through, nowadays it's all through social media. And it was one of those things where I see Bill Burr has tweeted that a lesson with @Mike's Lessons is on his bucket list. And I was like,
nice.
What? I listen to that guy's podcast every Monday, and I'm like, that can't be right. And, and he's in some of my favorite movies. And so, yeah, he found out I was coming to LA, Los Angeles to do a clinic. And then he got a hold of me through the back channels of Twitter and just asked if we could do a private lesson. I said, absolutely, man.
Tell me, before we hit record, you were telling me a Phil Collins story. You've got a poster. You're in the dark now, but you've got a poster over your right-hand shoulder yes. with you appearing on the same poster as Phil Collins. What's that about?
Well, yeah. So Phil was probably the first person I started obsessing over as a drummer and watching it, just as a musician. I'd watch his concerts. I had a videotape that I would just run over and over and over when I was a kid. And I've just always loved everything about his drumming and his approach to drumming, I guess, more than anything. And so, last year I got an award from a drum magazine. And then Phil Collins and I play for the same sponsor, for the same drum company called Gretsch Drums. And Gretsch took out an ad in the magazine congratulating the people that had won awards. Nice. And so it was this huge thing of Phil Collins. And then underneath it was other people that had won the award from that company. And Taylor Hawkins from the Foo Fighters and myself, and to be on the same piece of paper with Phil Collins. He'll never know I exist, but anyways, it was awesome. So my wife had it turned into a piece of art for me, and I totally appreciate it.
One of the things that I talk to my small business audience about is the importance of building brand. And one of the components of building brand is having, I think it's really important, or it's an interesting idea to identify a public figure that you see the brand that you're trying to build as being most like. For me, I always talk about Jamie Oliver. Don't know whether you know Jamie, but he's kind of the UK chef's chef, the TV chef.
Absolutely.
You know? So is Phil Collins that person for you that you kind of are building a business around?
No, I mean, it definitely, I can tell you this on a business level. I've never once looked at the drum industry or even the music industry.
Yeah, right.
It's never inspired me. I would say young starting business back when I opened my first business when I was 26, my first brick and mortar business called the Drum Lab School of Drumming. And, it was all about Michael Jordan. It was all about being the best in the world at something. I didn't look to his personal life. I didn't care about it. I cared about how did he approach basketball and how did he approach, it's funny that we think that like, oh yeah, everybody just wore baggy shorts while playing American basketball. Well, they didn't. Michael Jordan started that. And everybody thinks like, yeah, you just go out and get a pair of Jordan shoes. Well, there weren't signature shoes, I mean, there was a couple from Converse and maybe Adidas with some of the tennis stars, but there weren't basketball signature shoes. And he did that. And, his brand is bigger than life. So Michael Jordan was the one that kind of got me going, and then eventually became Steve Jobs, and realizing what it's like to make something as simple as a little device cool. That had never, in my opinion, really happened. And in the last 2 to 3 years, it's been Elon Musk, the president of Tesla Motors and SpaceX rockets.
Do you make a point of looking to these people? And I often use the word channeling, like it gets a bit woo-woo, but like, do you look to these people and say, what can I learn from them? What can I draw from them? How can I integrate some of what they've got into Mike's lessons?
100%. I mean, I've never thought, oh, I guess that only applies to designing rockets. When I hear Elon Musk talk, I think yes, I could totally do that. I also look at how is the world perceiving these people, and what is a common thread between Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, the people I do look up to. And then what are they trying to do with their brand? And is it a positive thing? It's very rare that somebody gets on board with a giant, negative business campaign where it's just about crushing the little guy. That's very rare. It's when somebody says, you know what, it's enough of this oil stuff. Let's make an electric car that looks cool. Then the world's like, yeah, we should do that. And they get on board, and then they like the person that had the idea, and they like the person that the oil companies can't buy out. And I don't want to get into that stuff, but what I mean is there's something there where it's like, yeah, I agree with you, man. That's really cool. And so I kind of think if I draw from them, it's little bits of everything. Yeah. And I never think of it as, like I said, shoes from Nike or iPods from Apple. I just think of it as like, okay, I'm going to take that and apply that to drum lessons and the distribution of drum lessons.
Hey, imagine, I always have this idea of, I would love Steve Jobs, even Sir Jonathan Ives, to have designed a car.
Yes.
The Apple car would be cool. What would you like Apple to design? A drum kit?
Oh man, if Apple could design anything for me.
Anything.
Oh boy, it's pretty tough because everything they've designed is what I wish they would have designed for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could design anything for me, it would have to be some sort of encompassing helmet that would allow me to travel the universe, like just visually, like take star tours. I'm very interested in astronomy and physics, and I would love to just put on some glasses or more of a helmet, something that shuts out the world.
See, Ives would never, the helmet's far too clunky. I mean, he would, right. he'd kind of, it'd be a chip. It'd be definitely an inserted chip of some sort into your kind of, lower bicep or something that allows you to then go anywhere you want to. It's much more minimalistic kind of thing.
I don't want like just glasses, because I bought those, when they came out, like plug these glasses into your iPod. I was like, yeah. And then there's still babies crying next to me on the plane. And it's like, no. I need to just shut out the world with this.
Yeah, correct.
But yeah, that would be it for me.
Now, Jono, let's get stuck into Mike's lessons because it seems to be, looking at it from the outside, someone who'd not come across you until Danny Thompson from the musicfactoryoc.com, he's a member of my forum, suggested I have a chat to you.
Nice.
It seems to be a bit of a juggernaut. In fact, Danny said in his email to me, Mike's built the most successful online teaching business in the world. How accurate is that?
I can say that it's been said by enough other people that I'm starting to trust it, but I don't spend any time like looking to see who's doing what. I've never been sitting with another person that does online education and said, what's your revenue stream like? I don't really care, to be honest. I can tell you this, one of the greatest things business-wise that's ever happened to me is having enough financial freedom to quit caring about money. And I don't mean that on any kind of billionaire scale. I just mean that at some point the wife gave me a look saying like, you know what, just do it. Do things for the right reason. We have enough to get by. And it was like, cool. I don't want to ask how many videos did we sell last week. And I just don't want to be stuck in that world because I think it kind of shapes the product. And you start going for cash grabs and you go, oh man, we're hurting a little this month. I'll do this video that I know is a popular topic. I don't want to do that. I want to sit down on the drum set and say like, man, if I explain this just right, this will help a lot of drummers. And then usually by doing that and having that mindset, those are the things that sell anyways,
Mm-hmm. An assumption here. How long were you stuck in the opposite world where it was a grab for cash?
Yeah, it was, luckily for me, I never did okay, I'm broke and now I'm just going to start a business thing. I always had something underneath as a revenue stream. So I taught private lessons after I was done touring until I could financially open my own business doing that and have teachers teach under me. I ran that business while starting Mike'sLessons.com and I let it build gradually. So it was never in that position where you can't, eat. But yeah, I think the other thing is I didn't have expectations. I started online drumming or online lessons when it wasn't being done by anybody in the world. So I had nobody to look up to and say, oh, this could be really big one day. I just thought, well, it sucks that there's a kid in Japan that has seen me on YouTube and really wants to learn from me, but he just can't. And he never will be able to. He'll never be able to come over here and study in California. And then technology was getting to a place where it was like, I don't know, man, maybe he could. Maybe I could speak to him, And so that's kind of how it all kind of grew. So I would say that I didn't spend much time feeling like, woe is me, or I got to do the cash grab thing. Mm-hmm. I just know, I would say it's a little bit different. What it was when things actually did start to take off, that's when I screwed up a little bit and went, oh man, if I just did this, I could make twice as much. And it would bomb, and I would go, oh, that's weird. And then I'd kind of forget about money and I would think like, oh, this is going to help a lot of drummers, and it would explode. Wow. And then I would think, oh, if I just do 2 more of those, it was almost like a great movie comes out and then you make a terrible sequel just to get the money from the great movie.
Yeah.
That's what I had to learn was like, you know what, just keep making one great movie at a time. Stop making sequels, And
hello to the directors and producers of Police Academy 49.
Yes. And I can't wait for Hot Tub Time Machine Part 2.
God, I'm not going out just in case it gets a pre-release on iTunes.
That's darn right, buddy.
Man, that really interesting. Like, let's explore that, Mike, because from what I understand, you started posting some drum lessons on YouTube. Yeah, that was kind of your thing. You got right. You put them up because of the kid in Japan, with no real kind of plan in place. There's a point in time it gets traction. And what was that traction? Just starting to get reviews, feedback?
Yeah, honestly, it was just numbers. I mean, YouTube, when I started with YouTube.
How long ago?
It was, I can tell you this, it was when I was telling people it's www.youtube.com. That's how new it was. So I think I was probably one of the first people to ever do a drum lesson on YouTube. And I actually started it because I was constantly taking off for like a week or two for short tours. And I would tell my private students, hey, I have to leave, but I made a video of your drum lesson. I'll be back next week. Watch it on this website, www.youtube.com. And when I come back, we'll go over your lesson with you. And I would tell the parents the same thing. And I would, I'd come back and that video would have 25,000 views, but I only showed it to 6 kids. And I was like, that's weird. That must be wrong. And because everything that we think of as normal now, at one point it wasn't normal, and I didn't know what views were, and I didn't, I was still on MySpace, and so I was like, wow, that's a lot of views. And then when it hit about 1 million views, that's when I thought, okay. And people were saying things that I'd never heard in my life. No one had ever said, thank you so much. I've never been able to understand this subject until now. And it's like, what? All I did was teach it. But then other drummers started coming up with lessons on YouTube, and I got to really A/B the difference between how I explain things and how other people explain things. And I think a lot of, that's where I started to notice the traction. I thought, okay, we're at 1 million views on one little lesson. If I would have had 99 cents from every one of those views, that would have been $1 million, minus a couple pennies. So.
Can I just pick up on a point you said then, because I'm at the moment working with someone to get their podcast up and running, and we just had the conversation this morning about the difference in the way she's going to present it versus the way someone else is going to present it. So the premise is, assume that someone's going to do something similar to what you're doing tomorrow. They're going to start a same business, the same podcast, whatever it is.
Sure.
The point of difference is in the way you deliver. So the way you were delivering your music lessons was like only you could do it. People can copy what you do, but not who you are.
Absolutely. And no one, and you know what? I've had to sit down and when you're successful at something like art, the world wants to find out, okay, you couldn't possibly be good at what you do. So what's the secret? What did you figure out that no one else did? And, what I can always tell them is, look, we all have access to the same information. I'm not teaching anything new. I'm only delivering it in a way that hasn't been delivered. And that's the personal spin. And that's it. That's the only difference between me teaching a simple drum pattern and someone else teaching that exact same thing. It's just the delivery, and the care in the delivery. I can tell you that the one thing has separated my YouTube channel from the rest of the world of drumming education is how much I care about the end user, where I even start every video acknowledging them first. I'm not making random content and then just putting it on YouTube. I'm making the content for YouTube. And I say, what's up, YouTubers and Facebook cats? This is Mike Johnston. I'm making this clearly for you, and so, yeah, so I think that's what you said is spot on. I mean, it's about putting your spin on it and being you. And sometimes it catches on with the world and sometimes it doesn't. And there's not a lot of explanation of why.
No. At that point, you kind of, if you try and figure that out, it's difficult. But it's interesting, in every category. I mean, there's one airline CEO that gets is he CEO? Branson. I mean, he gets all the exposure. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of airline CEOs in the world. Every category, it comes down to personality. So I think that's really interesting. And thanks for sharing that. Was there a actually, before we move on, I'd love to wrap some numbers around Mike's lessons. I don't expect you to reveal revenues, but whatever you've got that gives us a sense of the scale.
Sure. Well, I would say that, keep in mind the drum industry is a tiny, tiny industry, which it was news to me. I really, even though I've been playing drums my whole life, I think as a drummer, I just assumed the world played drums. But, man, it's hard because, like I said, I don't keep track of much, but I know that I'm trying to think of a good number that would tell you that how impactful this is to the drumming community. I can say that it won an award for Educational Website of the Year by Drum Magazine, and then the following year I won Educator of the Year. And I think that nowadays we're dealing with popularity contests because we have the online world and social media, and I think that by winning those awards, it was showing that the world of drumming was paying attention to this website. But the amount of people that we have on there, because we have different services. So we have downloadable content, and that probably has about 20 or 30,000 people that have used that service, where they just download the content. They never speak to me. It goes straight to their iPod or their desktop, and then they just watch it. And they're just video drum lessons. And then we have the live stream, which is live online drum lessons that happens in the morning and in the evening, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that has, less people. But a normal broadcast will be about 12 to 1,300 people in the morning and then another 2,000 in the evening. But that's a lot of people if they all ask questions. So
now you've got one starting in 2.5 hours. I note from the front page of your website. Are those they're members? Are they? They're paying a monthly membership?
Those are paid subscriptions. That's a monthly subscription. It's $20 a month. And so, and that was a goal. There were financial goals in that, okay, if I could get 100 people to sign up for this at $20 a month, that would give me $2,000. That was a goal at the beginning of the business. Like, okay, that would get me to the point that I wasn't losing money and my wife and I wouldn't fight about it. And then it just, then it was, all right, well, I want 500 students and that'll, give me this amount. And then 1,000 students. That was just like this huge goal, $20,000 a month from teaching online drum lessons. And I know that's not like, millionaire type stuff, but as a drummer, that was pretty neat,
Yeah.
And not traveling, not touring, just staying home with the wife, and the dogs and having a normal life and, bringing in $20K a month just off of that was a huge dream and a huge goal. So, yeah, I mean, and then once those kind of goals started to happen, it was like, okay, I can get obsessed with this, or I can say, you know what, this is way more than you ever thought it would be. Turn that part of your world off for a second and let it just go on autopilot and now make the best product ever. And it'll probably skyrocket,
And did it?
Yeah. It's been a good year.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Tell me, what a great story. There's a kind of idea I want to explore with you is this being a teacher. About 7 or 8 years ago for me, I was working in corporate marketing, working on big brands and big agencies. And I had this kind of epiphany that, you know what, I just want to teach. I don't know whether I necessarily want to consult. I don't want to execute campaigns and all that type of stuff, but I was really enjoying teaching and sharing knowledge. And that was a massive change for me. And it's led to me, and in actual fact, I took it so literally that I was going to go back to and study to become a teacher and go to at that time I was really inspired by what's his name, Robin Williams' character, Professor John Hughes in Dead Poets Society. I thought I'm going to be like him, but that I was being too literal, and I realized that, I'll just go back. I'm going to teach marketing somehow, and that's what this podcast is about, and that's what my public speaking is about. Did you kind of have that similar teacher epiphany at some point?
Yeah, actually, I did. I got a record deal when I was 21. I was already teaching drums at a local music store. Got a record deal and, wasn't really that into it. I never had dreams of being a rock star or anything like that.
Why not?
I know, right?
What's wrong with you?
I know. My dad was like, well, I'll go on tour if you're not.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, he was like, look, son, you may never have this opportunity again. You can always go to Berklee School of Music. You can always teach. But you should take this. And so I went out and I did the touring thing and, and we made our little MTV videos and all that stuff. And I, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I got to experience that world. And while I was doing that, we started playing all the big festivals in Europe. They have these 50,000, 60,000 people festivals over there. And we'd play those things and I'd look out at this sea of 50,000 people. And all I could do was I would create these patterns in my head that I would think, okay, as soon as this show is over, I'm going to go back on the tour bus with all the other drummers and I'm going to teach them this really cool idea that if you hit every 5th, 16th note, it's going to create a 5/4 polyrhythm. And, and I'd snap myself out and go, oh my God, dude, pay attention. You're like in the middle of a dream right now.
Yeah.
You're playing to 50,000 people.
Yeah. And that girl in the front row is looking at you. Don't worry about teaching the drummers back in the bus.
She's not ugly. She's doing just fine. Let's pay attention to that, Johnston. And so that was kind of, and then that happened more and more to where all I could think about was, all right, 8:30 p.m. That's the end of the last set or whatever, or 10:30 or whatever. And then we can get on my bus, pull out the practice pad, and I'll teach all these guys this stuff. And they didn't even want to be there. They were like, dude, let's go to a bar. And I'm like, no bar. Let's practice. So anyways, that was kind of it. And then in the meantime, when I would be off tours, those were little warning signs. And when I'd be off tours, I was taking lessons with a very famous educator that I'd worked out of all of his books. His name's Pete Magadini. And one day Pete said, I was getting ready to go back out on the road. And he said, Mike, when you play drums, it's cool. But when you tell me something and you explain something to me, your eyes light up and you get so freaking excited you can barely contain yourself. You might want to think about doing that for a career. And I never thought of it as a career. And I was like, what, teach? And he's like, yeah, I've never seen anybody quite as excited about explaining something to somebody else as you are. And I said, okay, and that was kind of it. I quit my band and moved back home and started teaching.
There's the turning point right there. You know, I'm really, really passionate about so many small business owners know so much about what it is they do. And I'm really passionate about helping them introduce additional revenue streams to their business. And I think teaching, whether it be teach the train the trainer, or just teaching something, you know, like if you've got a coffee shop and you are you're knocking out the best coffees day in, day out, run some coffee classes, for example. You know, I just think not enough good teachers in this world.
No, absolutely. And that's when it comes to, you know, online revenue, what I've noticed is if I sold the performance of a drum solo, I'd make $5. No one will pay right now with YouTube and all the social media. No one will pay for performance. But if I sold the concept that went into that drum solo that allowed me to create the solo, I'd make $5 million. And I realized that right away because there were companies that were like, well, we have these great artists. We're going to sell their, you know, their performance. And I watched it just tank. And I thought, you know, you can't compete with YouTube right now. Like no matter what you have for me on your performance, I do think that I can find someone that was in that crowd with a camera phone that has already uploaded it for free. But I will pay for information and education. And I wouldn't say I've trained, but I've really taught my students and my customers, look, the reason we charge is very important. If I'm charging you for this, I take it seriously as an educator. And if you pay for it, you take it seriously as a customer. Everything I will ever teach you is already for free on YouTube, and you won't practice any of it because it's for free. But once you pay for it, you're going to get your money's worth by practicing, and you're going to get that value out of the education.
Yeah, great concept. Let's talk then about not just the online business, because what I love about mikeslessons.com is that it is so much more than an online business. In fact, you've got drum camps and you've got live lessons, you've got lesson packs, you've got single lessons. And Mike, I got to say, tell me who's responsible for the site. I kind of like to drum, but I'm not going to go out and buy drum lessons or anything. But your site makes me want to buy. It's just like, I've got to click something. I've got to put it in the shopping cart. It's so brilliantly set up. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I had the first 3 or 4 versions of mikeslessons.com I had done myself. I'd stay up every night and learn things from this website called lynda.com. And I would just learn. Back in the day, I was learning Flash because that was so popular. And so ActionScript, Swish. I was learning all these, HTML, everything. And I was making my own site because I couldn't afford for somebody to do it. Eventually, as it became big enough that I couldn't handle it anymore, especially with all the roles that people get assigned as a member, I hired a web developer named Brad Phillip. And he's responsible for a lot of things in the drum world as well as the music world. He does the Vans Warped Tour site. He does Macbeth shoes, and then SJC custom drums. So he does a lot of cool hip sites. But he does do it all by himself, which I really wanted. I wanted somebody that, because sometimes designers can just code, do design, and coders can just code. I wanted somebody that could do it all. And he happened to be a drummer. So he took over the site.
Not easy to find. Not easy to find, by the way.
No. Oh my God. I thought everyone did that.
It's like finding a builder and an architect.
No, I thought everyone did that. And then, so I went to Brad and I said, look, I know how much my website would cost. I totally get it. I can't give you that. I don't have it. This is before it ever started. But what I will do is I will pay you monthly, whether you do anything or not. So we worked out a deal, and I said, and that payment will, grow as the site grows. And he agreed to it, and it's been awesome. I've been working with him now for about 2 years. And the site you're looking at, to me, it's funny because that's that's like ancient compared to what's coming out in about I think we're going to launch on January 1st, our new website.
Why?
It's just a redesign. And
is that Jono, the business owner, getting tired of his marketing before anyone else does?
No, it's something where I've just always thought by the time that my industry catches me, I will be gone. And I know right now that in the world of online musical education, I don't mean this to be cocky, but I know that my website is the leader. And I know, and now I'm starting to see the copies pop up. So I have to leave, and I have to make them think like, oh, you got to be kidding me. We just launched and he's gone, and it's like, so the new website is just very, very hip and new. And I mean, it's got a new look and feel. I mean, the products are the same. The products will never change. We make downloadable content and live streaming content. And then I host drum camps here But yeah, Brad Phillips has been an awesome person to work with for sure.
So let's talk about that new iteration of the site, because how old's the current site been there? I'm going to have to take a screen grab and put it in the show notes so people can compare. But how long has this site been up?
1 year.
Wow, that's short.
Well, I mean, just 1 year of that design. Mike'sLessons.com has been up for 6 years.
Yeah. So now tell me, the new iteration, you're using words like cool and hip. Is it about a design thing, or has there been some lessons that you've learned that you think are going to encourage more sales, and what are they?
Yeah, one, there's wasted stuff on our site. One of our tabs right now, I believe, is students. Well, it was when we started that, we thought, well, when you sign up, you should make your own profile and your pictures and your drum set. It doesn't work that way. They already have Facebook. They will not do it. At least in the drum world, trying to make your own social media site does not work.
There's a lot of not mirages, what are the silhouettes there?
Yeah, there's a lot of avatars that don't have pictures.
Yeah.
So, if you go through 15,000 students, like they don't have 15,000 pictures. So we noticed, you know what? Let's ditch it. So about a year ago, we made the Mike's Lessons family Facebook page, where when you sign up for our site, you're immediately invited to this private page. We all keep track of each other. We all support each other. And if we're going to use social media, let's just, Facebook's doing it better than I'm doing it. So that was one of the lessons I learned. One of the others was that right now it's we're one of the few companies that allow people to download the content and literally keep it. So as soon as you download it, it's yours. Meaning if you wanted to, you could upload it to YouTube and ruin my world, and that'd be fine. But what we've noticed is they just don't. When people pay for content, they're very private about it and they don't want to share it with the world. So that hasn't been a problem. But one thing right now is, let's say that you logged in from a mobile device. You can't access your downloadable content unless you've synced it to your mobile device. So we're adding that as a feature. Now there'll be the download button and then the on-demand watch button, where you just watch it on your mobile device, but it's not actually taking up any room on your mobile device. We're hosting it for you. And so now we'll be introducing on-demand, which is something, that we should have done a while ago. So those are some of the new things that are coming, as well as, we want to have the ability to connect our students with each other physically, as far as drummers like to hang out and jam together. So they should be able to type in their, zip code or postal code and say, okay, how many Mike's Lessons students do I have in my area? And could we organize a jam, at somebody's house? So things like that. And then the biggest thing is just the visual redesign. Like I said, I have an amazing, amazing designer. And when he's like, it's time to move forward, then I know, he's done his research. And so hopefully the reaction that you've given me over the current site, I hope when you see the new site, you're like, yeah, man, now we're getting somewhere.
Well, it's just buy without being kind of push. That's what I love about it.
But the other thing that a lot of people don't realize until someone points it out is that's not MikeJohnston.com, meaning there's no gallery of me. There's no videos of me performing. It's only teaching. You can't find about Mike. There's nothing about me. It's just an educational porthole that I happen to be the person that's generating the content for.
Yeah. And again, podcast, there's no, you've got a little button to Facebook and Twitter, but there's no blog.
And that's not even my Facebook. That's the Mike's Lessons family Facebook. So
yeah, right.
I try to keep, like I said, it's my goal marketing wise. And you mentioned this in, what's it called? The wake up calls.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The free download off smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
You mentioned it in there a little bit, but I don't even know if it has a name, but I call it organic marketing. And it's one of those things where I just want to say, this is what's out there. If you want to know more, you ask me. Instead of me telling you more, I'll wait till you ask me. And then I don't feel guilty about filling you in on more. So I put out those things and say, look, this is what's available. If you want it, come get it. And if not, no big deal. It's here for you. Rather than doing the sham wow crap, $19.99 in your face, graphics flying out of the screen. I can't stand that stuff.
Listen, the ShamWow ad was pretty good.
I know, but I just mean that world of marketing is already out there. Yes, I think there can be a less abrasive way to say, look, I've made a quality product, and if you choose something over me, that's on you. But if you didn't know I existed, that's on me.
You've got this craze, and I can see the Steve Jobs coming out in you. Jobs was all about, he found that intersection between the liberal arts and technology. That's Apple, at that intersection, that is Apple. And you've kind of got this crazy intersection going on of, you're an artist, you're a creative person by trade, and often you could have gone down the path of just creating art for art's sake, and you might have been happy, but you wouldn't be living the life. But you found this intersection of commercial reality as well, without the pushiness that often commercial reality involves.
Sure. Well, I think, and maybe you can tell me. I don't think that I didn't do my research on you before we did this. So
here we go.
I look up to you as well in what you're doing, and maybe you can speak to this. But I think one of the easiest ways to create an awesome product is to be the customer. And Mike's Lessons is the site that I wish my drumming idols would have made for me. I'm the drummer. I'm the student. I wanted this website. I wish Phil Collins made online drum lessons when I was 16. And I think by always being the customer, the chief customer of your product, you make a much better product instead of guessing what the world wants and trying to sell it to them.
Such a great lesson, that one. Be the customer. I talk about it when I talk about branding. I ask my listeners to identify their best mate. I call it their best mate, but that person who has the highest propensity to buy from them, and get inside their head. I don't care too much for their demographics, but I care for what they think, how they feel, what problems do they have that we as the business owner can solve, and kind of come at it from that way. And thank you for doing your research on me. I still feel personally, and I haven't talked about this much, I'm going to do it. I'm doing an annual wrap up of the year on small business, big marketing shortly, but I still feel as though I can push, and it's interesting because I tell people not to push, but sometimes I feel myself pushing people too much into, register for this webinar or do this, enter my forum. It's only because I know that what I'm creating is what I wish had been around for me before I created it. And right. I just know, and the gold that I am, the caretaker of, I was going to say responsible for, but I'm not, because I've got all these, like you, got these students and members and listeners who provide so much of what small business, big marketing is. And it's about finding that balance between, God, I want the world of small business to know this, like you want the world of drummers to know about Mike's Lessons.
Right. Yeah. And that's, you use two words that, like, it's funny because I'm always doing drumming podcasts and drumming interviews. This is so awesome because I feel like I can't really, a lot of drummers are artists. So we're not going to go down this road. And sometimes I just want to sit and talk about, branding, and it's not going to happen. But two of the words that you use that really strike a chord with me. One, instead of you saying sale or selling them, you said solving. And that's huge for me. I'm always thinking, what is a drummer's problem? Okay, speed. That's one of the drummer's problems. Well, let me solve it. What's another drummer's problem? Like independence or coordination. All right, let me try to solve it. So that really strikes with me. And then the other word you used is wish. And I have this like Mike Johnston personal business principle that I don't really talk about very much, but it's called the I wish principle. And it means that anytime I ever say the words I wish out loud, that's my moment to act. If I wish for something and someone else wishes for it too, make it happen right now. Don't ask for permission. Don't do anything. Don't wonder if it's possible. I remember saying, man, I wish there was a way I could learn from this drummer. And I thought, okay, well, I can't, but the rest of the world can learn from me that way. I'm going to figure this out. So anytime you say, I wish, it's like, that's the moment. Act. If you wish for it, somebody else wishes for it too, and they'll probably purchase it from you. And I don't mean to turn it as salesy as I just said it, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, mate, I do. And that hit a nerve with me. Hopefully it hit a nerve with other listeners too. But I wish, if only. Right
when you say that, right when you're about to complain, make it happen. Don't keep wishing,
Yeah.
Somebody said, I wish there wasn't a cord attached to my cell phone in my car. And it's like, well, get off your ass and do it.
I want to explore, I'm not pushing, but I just want to explore more how you've got to the point. And I think it's more than money. I think you were there before you were financially free. I get the feeling that you were just creating content that was solving problems, as opposed to going, right, how do we make the next $5,000? And I think it's just really fascinating because not every small business owner, so many small business owners are just looking to figure out how to make the next $5,000. Cash flow is an issue. Cash flow is a massive pressure, but gosh, how do you just go, you know what? Stuff it. I'm jumping. I'm going for it.
You know, man, I where I have my business, my physical business at Mike'sLessons.com, I'm in a kind of a center. We're on the river in California, and we have probably 7 other businesses in the actual building with us, all spread out on the river. And every time a new business comes in to take over for somebody that went out of business, I desperately want to ask the person, how much money do you have saved for your first 2 years? Because if you can't make it on your own with not an ounce of income, I don't see how you're going to do it, because your business will only succeed off of trust. And trust takes time. And one thing that no one knows or no one ever pays attention to is the first 3 years that I was on YouTube, I wasn't charging a dime. I didn't have a website. I was building trust.
Yeah.
I was just putting out content, and people saw me horrible with a camera. I didn't know how to speak to a camera. I stuttered. I used the word between every sentence. I said, 40 times, and all the time. And they got to watch me grow, and they understood, like, okay, every time this guy puts out a little bit of content, it's very useful, and I'm becoming a better drummer. And it was all about building trust. And one day when I had about 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, that's when I said, I hope you guys trust me enough to follow me to a paid website where I will put way more effort into the educational content. And that was, in my mind, financially, I thought, okay, if I could just get 10%, 5,000 people to move with me over to a paid site, that would be it. And that's where it started. So a lot of times I'm seeing people that always start at the finish line, and they go, okay, I got your cameras, I got your building, I got your everything. And I think, you don't have anyone to buy. You have no customers. You have nothing. Yeah. You're going to oh man, I'm going to have to buy your stuff back from you on eBay 2 months from now when you go out of business. And so I think that's the biggest lesson I learned, was building trust, not for financial gain, but for trust's sake. Like, look, I really do want to be good I really want to give you guys quality education, because you deserve it, and we have the technology to do it. So why not?
We absolutely do. And what I think too is that with this kind of the content marketing being the new black in marketing circles these days, and I know some people are getting sick of hearing it, but hey guys, it's not going away. The first step with content marketing is to just solve problems, to share your knowledge, and at some point slowly kick it over into, hey, you like what I'm saying, maybe consider buying this, joining this, coming to a camp or whatever it is that you've got. And it does happen.
It does. And it's, like I said, it's just about putting value on things. And my content on my website is not a duplicate of my content on YouTube. YouTube is tips and tricks. It's, excuse the horrible reference, but it's what I call drum porn. It's shiny. It's awesome. It's neat. But there's no content. There's no real relationship there. It's just fun. And I think, okay, that's for YouTube. Now, when you get to my website, it's straight up education. There might be a little bit of my humor in there, but for the most part, it's straight up education.
So for the audio, for the people listening to this, it's audio. If we go to a YouTube, one of your YouTube clips, is it you going nuts on the drums? Is it, for example?
It can't. No, it's mostly lessons. I would say I rarely perform. There's some new videos of me performing just because I did this huge drum festival thing, but it's always lessons. But it's the show off stuff that would get you fired in a real gig. It's what drummers think is cool, going flashy all over the drum set, but that's not real education. That's kind of like, these are tips and tricks. It'd be the same thing as you on YouTube showing somebody how to get a crowd to be quiet with one sentence. Okay, cool. That's a trick. But what's your next 60 minutes going to be? That we're going to have to pay for that. That's legitimate content.
So what's the call to action at the end of the YouTube video?
Honestly, it can be as simple. There's a couple things I do. One would be, hey, I hope you guys enjoyed that. For more, go to Mike'sLessons.com. That simple. Like, keep it. It's like, I don't want to be in your face. The other is when I do packs. So, okay, this is part 1 of 8 videos. I never do the bait and switch fade out crap where right when it gets good, it just fades to black. because that just angers people. They just get mad, and I don't want to cause that. So it'll be like, okay, I just gave you a fully legitimate lesson. If you want the next 7 videos that are in this same subject matter, they're at mikeslessons.com. So it would be that. And then, that's it's pretty simple. Like I said, I like organic marketing. I'll throw out some stuff. I'm waiting for you to say, oh, I wish you had more lessons. And I go, oh, I do. I have 734 of them over at mikeslessons.com. Rather than saying, hey, everybody, I have 734 lessons. You should go buy them right now. I don't ever want to do that. It's like, oh, you like that? Cool, man. Well, you know where to go. My logo's at the bottom.
Jono, being the artist and creative person that you are, how much time do you spend analysing the data?
Very little.
I love that. I was hoping you'd say that.
I really don't care. I can tell you this. When I get home from film, because my day of work is just filming video content and uploading it and whatnot. It's just, if the wife's in this happy mood and she's talking about getting a new dining room table, I know that things are good. Yeah. If she's like, hey, we should go, there's a sale on towels. We should go to the sale. Then I go, so I should make more content. Yeah. That's about all I know. I can tell you something a little personal, but I really don't care. Who knows? I don't want to know how much money we have. I don't want to know how much we make. So my wife puts a very small amount in my account on the 1st and a very small amount in my checking account on the 15th. And that's my money. And that's it. And I've been a drummer my whole life and I'm used to being broke. And if you give me $1 million, I will spend it down to zero because I'm comfortable at zero. I'm not comfortable having savings accounts and 401ks. So that's my wife. She does that. And then I have my little chunk of money and it's surprisingly little, but I don't ever think about bills. I don't think about anything like that. And and then sure enough, on the 14th, I have 87 cents in my checking account. I'm swiping my card at the deli, praying that it'll go through. And, and like some of my buddies will be like, dude, don't you drive a Tesla? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have any money in my checking account.
I love it.
Because I don't even get gas money anymore. I have an electric car. So that's kind of how we've done it and kept that financial stress off of me so that I can just create good content that is trying to solve problems, just like you stated.
Yeah, love it. Hey, Mike Johnson from MikeLessons.com, Jono, as he prefers to be known, mate. It's been a pleasure to have this chat, and I'm really glad you enjoyed it too. No music discussion, just good old branding and marketing.
This was an absolute blast. I can't even tell, I'm kind of sweating right now because I'm so excited and just amped up. I feel like you and I need to go find a theater and give a talk to a crowd right now.
Yes. Hey, that is so interesting. I'm not suggesting we do that anytime soon, but again, we've always got to be looking for opportunities. And the idea of bringing, the obvious thing for me or the obvious thing for you, I go and find a whole lot of marketing specialists and we find the theatre. You go and find a whole lot of drummers and find another theatre and you share the knowledge. But it makes much more sense to kind of integrate completely different skill sets into
I think
that
so.
One theatre.
And especially when you get, two people that were totally unrelated, came from different worlds, and then you find those common threads and you go, wow, that's weird. These people don't know each other. Yet these principles always show up in successful people and especially people that have started small businesses and grown them into larger things. But I know that I'll be in Australia sometime in 2014. So if I am, we'll set it up, buddy.
Mate, tap me on the shoulder. I would love to. Give me some warning and we'll do that. And what I think too, and I have this feeling that there's going to be a whole lot of stuff that we could have spoken about that we just don't have the time for now. But I'm going to tap you on the shoulder real soon and get you inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum and get a bit rational and cover off some maybe questions that members have, and we can do it that way.
Count me in, man. I would love to.
Love it, buddy. Thanks, Jono.
Thank you.
Well, if you can't feel it coming in the air tonight, then you are never going to feel it. I thoroughly enjoyed having that fireside chat with Mike Johnson. What a guy. What a loving, smart marketer and small business owner. And I hope you got as much out of that interview as I did, because I'm actually going to listen back to that. I don't listen back to a lot of my interviews, but that one is marketing gold right there. 3 learnings from that. Consider becoming a teacher. Hey, You know so much about the industry in which you operate. Why not add an additional revenue stream to your business and become the teacher? Number 2, be your customer. We talked about that in the listener question early on. Identify their number one problem and solve it. Number 3, listen to what others say and really listen to what others say, and you will build a strong, credible business that really is loved by your customers and by your prospects. And I think all of a sudden your marketing and that whole conversion process will become a whole lot easier. So hope you got a lot out of that. Love you to go over to the show notes for episode 168 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and let me know what you thought. This has been a long episode, so there's been a fair bit in it. But even if you left a thought as to what the number one idea or marketing tip you got from my fireside chat with Mike, that would be golden. I've also dropped a video that Mike gave me of him playing in front of 1,000 people in those show notes as well. It's a great little YouTube video where Mike filmed himself recently in front of 1,000 odd folk. So, team, that brings us to the end of Australia's number one marketing show for another week. I've loved putting it together. It's so nice being back behind the microphone. I love sharing it. I love sharing the gold. And there's so much more gold to come over the coming weeks and months. One thing I'm going to do after the credits roll, the outro as we call it, after that rolls, I'm going to read 3 or so iTunes reviews. I've got so many. I've got over 200 there now, and I just want to give back. So I am going to read them. You may not be interested, but you might be. It's nice to see what other people like you are thinking, in this case, about the show. So it's a nice way for me to give back to those who go to the trouble of leaving an iTunes review anyway. So lots of great guests coming up. Hey, if you know someone that you think would be a great guest to come on the show, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, go to contact me, and there's a little drop-down menu there where you can flick me a note with a guest suggestion. Always open to ideas. Finally, the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. It's time for you to get in there. The start of a new year. I know there's many hovering around waiting for that perfect moment to enter. Get into the Small Business Big Marketing inner circle, as I call it, and start asking those marketing questions. I'm in there every day, answering questions, adding to the conversation. There's loads of small business owners in there doing the same from all around the world. I'd love to see you in there. It's $1 for the first 7 days. Clicks over to $49 a month thereafter. No lock-in periods, but you are going to get some marketing gold. So head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. and I will see you inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. Until then, may your marketing be the best marketing. See ya.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Okay, let's get stuck into some iTunes reviews. This one's from P3T3C123. That's a wacko name. Headline says, get this podcast into your business ears. 5 stars. Timbo nails it. He's an expert interviewer who knows how to extract the marketing gold out of the top-notch selection of successful business owners he gets on. So many things I've got from this podcast and implemented to my e-com business with great results. Thanks a million. Owe you big time, Timbo. Well, thank you very much for that. Next one, listen to every episode since number 1. Love it. 5 stars. This is from bestiphoneaccessories.com.au. Tim, I love how you take a different slant with every business owner you interview, but still extract the marketing gold. Love your work. Thank you very, very much, Best iPhone Accessories. And the next one, Spurs on Creativity, 5 stars. This is from Grazler. As an area manager for a large FMCG company, I'm constantly dealing with small businesses that are looking for help. By utilising many of the nuggets in this podcast, I've been able to pass on some information and gain credibility. More importantly, though, many of the topics spur on ideas within my day-to-day work, despite the fact the podcast does not target me specifically. Very impressed. Love your work, Grazler. Thanks for all those people who are leaving iTunes reviews. I will continue to share them over the coming episodes going forward.